Alright fellas, here we are back at Pokemon Masters, and so here for the part 2 of the anniversary Pokefair Select Scout overview. This time we're going to be looking at the tech characters. So again, I'm recording this when none of this has actually been, quote, data mined, right, or put in the... It hasn't been put in the news, right, but like, obviously none of this is dropped, there's no real information to go off other than this image. This is again assuming that every single tech character is, tech Pokefair character is in this banner. Whatever, 5,000 paid gems, probably 15 pulls as it says here, and you will be able to select one Pokefair character. So, looking at all the options, we have 28 tech characters. That's a whole lot, and I will be honest, a lot of these characters have value. In some way or another, a lot of them actually legitimately are good. Like, I would say the characters that are like not worth selecting over a lot of these others is probably Signasuit Leaf, Marnie, Champion Iris, probably Leer. Other than that, though, like, Beat I would not say is worth selecting. I don't think Signasuit Kareen is that valuable either. Yeah, that's mostly it. All of these other characters I think legitimately have value. It's gonna be pretty hard to like, go over this banner because so many of these characters are good. I would say one of the more valuable characters to pick up are probably between like Clara, maybe Signasuit Roxy, Signasuit Steven. Good lord, a lot of good characters. Signasuit Hilbert still got a lot of good capabilities, and just for so many of these other characters. I would also say N's not really worth picking up, especially when Silver's on the same scout, so just keep that in mind. I guess let's hop into it. Signasuit Leaf not really worth picking up, but she's got tech abilities with poison, debuffing, and potions. That's mostly it. I mean, she does have a Sync Nuke. She's got Relentless and Power Play, so not bad there. Her offenses are very low, though. Well, okay, not very low once Mega Evolved, but they're relatively low. She does have some Sync Countdown utility and just healing defense, a lot of defensive utility, and she's pretty good for that, honestly. So that is not bad, but you do, of course, want pretty much full investment for it. Marnie is mostly power trip gaming. She can get more stat buffs and boost her power trip similar to that of stored power, right? Her nuke is not great, 130%. Or sorry, okay, her nuke is not bad. Her nuke is not bad. Whenever she's in angry mode, she's sort of full belly mode. I don't have this character, man, so I don't remember a lot of how it works. But she does want dupes, just letting that be known, obviously. She wants 3 out of 5 for Static Shock and Inertia. She gets innate whenever enemies paralyzed, so her Sync Nuke's not horrible. She is definitely like easily replaceable by Thunderbolt Red, though. Similar in that vein, we've got Classic Elisa, who at least does a lot of good debuffing. She can debuff all 5 core stats when attacking a paralyzed enemy. She's got a very, very good Sync Nuke with 2 nuts of Power Play, and there's Static Shock there. She's got Sync Acceleration with the Sprint EX roll and her Trainer move, and also Self-Sufficiency in that too. But really wants 5 out of 5 for all of her stuff. Her crit buffs, her other note of Power Play, Conductive Sync. Yeah, she really wants 5 out of 5. Otherwise, she's pretty much just a debuffer. Champion Iris is in a similar situation where she gets good nodes at 3 out of 5 for nuking, but then other than that, she's mostly relegated to debuffing, and her 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 5 tiles kind of suck, other than Dragon Rush Aggravation 2. That's good for flinching, of course. But mostly outside of that, pretty replaceable. Also, she will be buffed technically under Arc Suit Lance, but probably more so heavily outclassed by Arc Suit Lance. Let's be honest here. We got ourselves Leer and Hoopa Confined. Leer's got a pretty good nuke too. I mean, he's got Rising Tide. Yeah, he's got double Rising. Sorry, not double Rising Tide. He's got Rising Tide here and then innate, whatever you would call this, where no enemy stats are raised. Because he does have Snatch, he can steal stats, and then he can, of course, nuke off that. That's nice. He's got a ton of sync nodes as well, and then mostly other than that, he's got DPS with Hyperspace Hull, which is not too bad. I mean, he does have a very good offensive stat, and a very solid self-sufficiency as well, so he's not a bad psychic damage dealer, just mostly outclassed by other options. Like there's the Anniversary May, who can set psychic terrain. There's Steven, of course, as well, who's just a better pick. Jacques, I think, has a better nuke as well. Yeah, Rising Tide there, Rising Tide here, so he's got a better nuke too. So just all that stuff to consider. We have Lucas, who is the only Dragon Zone setter, which alone does give him value, but Lucas has also been given away for free and has been on many rerun banners, so I don't think he's worth picking up simply because of that. If you do want Dragon Zone, I would just wait. I would instead go for Arc Suit Lance, where he's probably going to be able to lower Dragon rebuff due to due to his multi-sync move and all that. Again, I'm recording this before we actually have the information of all these characters. We literally have just gotten the reveal and the Twitter post, and that's it. So I don't actually know any of what their kits do yet as of the time of recording this, not uploading it. So keep all that in mind. But Lucas here does set Dragon Zone, so he will be probably a good partner for Lance or any other Dragon-type team. But again, he's mostly a good pickup for like free scouts or future Pokefair rerun banners. Cygnus Osiris only very recently got his rerun and his EX roll on top of that. He is a Dark Zone setter, which is not a very rare thing now with characters like Akari and Bryson Man with rebuff and a few other characters that, against that Dark Zone. Not a very rare ability now, but still pretty good, of course. He does have Sleep Spam with Dark Void, so if you are trying to just look to spam sleep and have the enemies just stay asleep forever. We gotta love that. Cyrus is good for the Legendary Gauntlet in that aspect, and of course he's good for pretty much any content where they don't have like resilience, so you can just, again, spam Dark Void. It's so fun. And even outside of that, if you can set him up right, he does have a good nuke. He's got Power Play and Innate Dark Zone, a 500 special attack stat, and Dark Pulse as well, which does have a Critical Strike 2 and Umbral Power multipliers, so you can actually make Cyrus work outside of just his Dark Void gimmick, and he's not too bad at that either. Other than that, we have Anniversary May here as a Psychic Terrain setter. Psychic Terrain is also not very rare, and it can, again, be replaced for the most part. You can replace Anniversary May, but she's still not a bad character, for sure. You can run her alongside of other, for buffing a lot of other Psychic-type characters. She's got a pretty good nuke with more innate special attack debuffs here for the Sync nuke, and then Devastation and Smarty Pants in the grid. Pretty good nuke all around. Mega Evolution, of course, does raise her stats. She's got a DPS option with Mist Ball, which, it's fine. It's not a bad damage option, but it's of course not that fantastic. But she does have a lot of multipliers to make it better, so there is that at the very least. Some decent debuffing, some decent DPS, and a pretty good nuke on top of Psychic Terrain. Not too bad either. Anniversary Skyla, our only Flying Zone setter in the game, and that alone does give her a decent bit of value too, similar to Lucas, but in the case different from Lucas, she also has not rerun that often, so she could be valuable to pick up because of that, but also there's a chance she might rerun pretty often in other banners like Flying High Score Event banner or Legendary Gauntlet banners that may feature Tapu Bulu or things like that. So she could rerun in the future since she only just recently got her first rerun. Was it first? Might have been first. Anyway, point being, she could, of course, get future reruns as well for, free gems. Anyway, again, still our only Flying Zone setter. She's got a very, very solid nuke as well with Interference Sync, Inertia, and the innate for Flying Zone. Striker EX roll making her sync move AoE, and she does have 550 special attack. Very, very good. Her only issue is that she does not have a good DPS option, but of course with the release of Champion Charon, that has been mostly mitigated, where he can mostly pick up the slack in terms of team damage, because he's very good for that. And again, Skyla can cover the nuking and utility side of things with the Flying Zone, team speed buffs, Flying Zone extension, and of course there's a few other things like Shifty Squad for evasion buffs and Fortuitous for debuffs. Not too bad. Anniversary Raihan, very solid utility character as well. Setting Sand, he can set Sun with Max Flare or debuff attack with Max Wormwind. He can flinch with Twister. He can debuff with Mind Boggler. He can buff allies' physical and special moves next by setting a weather effect, which is of course good for when you got like Sand NPR, and again can set Sun, so he's got good notes for that. He does have Drought Alert for Sun Extension 2, Disarm for attack and special attack debuffs on top of his special defense debuffs over here. Weather Sync up, Interference Sync 5, Sand Alert for Sand Extension, Solar Sync for setting Sun on his Sync move. Point being, of course, he's got a lot of ways to set weather effects, debuff, as well as disrupt with flinches, which is of course a good role being, tech and whatnot, right? So very, very solid stuff he can do here. Very, very good utility. He's also got evasion, sync countdown, and a few other things. So with full investment, Raihan can look pretty good. Raihan has not actually rerun yet as of the addition of EX rolls, right? So because clearly he does not have an EX roll. So whatever he gets in the future, we shall see. And of course, with him not having a rerun, that could imply that he is on the cusp of a rerun, so maybe it's not best to pick him, simply because he could be getting one soon with his EX roll too. We do have Bede here, and also do consider a lot of these characters, they might be rerunning this month, so if they're rerunning this month, don't pick them. Probably. Bede, again, I don't think Bede's too worth picking up, but I mean, he does have a few good things. He's very good for fairy damage. He's able to do a lot of damage when enemies are confused, whether that be via the sync move or DPS with Dazzling Gleam, Mystical Fire, and Psybeam. But he's also got a lot of good debuffing with Stupefaction, being able to debuff special attack and special defense whenever targeting an opponent. That's not too bad. And then Maximum Superpowered, powering up all of his super effective based attacks, whether that be DPS, Sync Move, or Max Move. And then, of course, Max Move can also leave all enemies confused, or he can set Sun or Psychic Terrain, depending on which one you use. That's not too bad either. Full self-sufficiency, though he does debuff his own defense, so be careful when using that trainer move. Again, those physical attacks could hurt. And then with full investment in the grid, he's got multiple sync nodes here for all of his max moves. He does have his Hard Knocks, debuffing enemy stats when targeting an opponent with a sync move. Oh geez, I can't. Oh boy, okay. 100% chance of learning targets stabbed by one rank when using the move, sync move, or max move against the opponent. Yeah, cool. Or one of the targets following stat rank. Yeah, okay. So you got random debuffs here upon using any of his moves. Confusion Synergy for DPS. Again, don't know why they're kind of focusing on this, but he can, I guess, try and do DPS damage. Fuzzy Strike for the sync move. He's got Recuperation as well here. That's very, very nice too. And a few other different things. So he's mostly debuffing, but he can do some pretty decent damage when on type, I guess. And yeah, Psychic Terrain and Sun as well. Not too bad. Doja Gloria, definitely not a bad character to pick up either. Is she replaced? Kind of, I guess. I mean, water is also a very competitive type just in general, so I guess that's a lot to consider there. Yeah, in terms of the physical side of things, she hasn't really been replaced. Either way, whatever. She's got a pretty good damaging option with Surging Strikes, which hits it 3 times in a row, and all attacks are crits, so this goes from being about 48 power to being about, what, like 140 something? So that's not too bad. Iron Head in close combat for steel and fighting type damage. Iron Head also does have flinches, so keep that in mind. That's not bad. Yeah, there we go. Trainer move, reducing sync countdown and raising attack. Again, her Surging Strikes is guaranteed crit, so that's not really too much to worry about in terms of buffing crit. She does also have, where is it at in the grid? Yeah, Stacking Strike, buffing her crit whenever she uses multi-target moves, so using Surging Strike once will max her crit out, which means that Iron Head in close combat will be able to also crit. So that is nice to consider here as a note for self-sufficiency. She's also got Punishing Strike, debuffing enemy defense every time she uses a multi-hit move. Well, she also debuffs defense with Iron Head in close combat, but Surging Strikes, since it's multi-hit, it will debuff defense by 3. That is very, very good too. And then Recharging Strike, giving her a 50% chance for gauge back when using her attack moves, and again, that does also factor in multi-hit moves, so you could restore up to 3 gauges. A lot of the rest of her kit in here focuses mostly upon enhancing her damage, obviously. Tripping Strike for extra debuffs, and also extra multiplier with Hunter's Instinct, Innate Relentless, as well as Relentless in the grid, Insult Injury for extra damage as well, and then some other utility like Restoring Strike for giving her HP back, Impervious for stat debuff immunity, and Interference immunity for interference immunity, right? So the flinches are good for the gauntlet and a lot of things, frankly. She's got a good nuke, she's got good gauge management skills as well. Not a bad tech overall to pick up, especially if you're willing to invest fully into her. She's got pretty good strength. Second is Karina, a big stat stealing type of character. She steals stats with Spectral Thief. Her innate sync nuke is powered up whenever there are no stat increases on the enemy. This is similar to Lear, right? And she's got Rising Tide again, like Lear. Though, unlike Lear, where she does have a good nuke, she doesn't really have good DPS options. Spectral Thief is not really that high powered, and among that, it's only used 3 times. So she does have multipliers like Better Prepared, Furious Brawn, and I think, does she have something in here? Yeah, she's got Good Form, right? She's got Good Form that can power up her moves. Can make Spectral Thief look impressive, but again, do consider she doesn't really have any way to restore that other than Sync Reload 9, so you're going to be very limited on your DPS, but again, stat stealing is nice. Good nuke, good stat stealing, good stat raising, etc. Sekisume, very good fire nuker, very, very good nuke with the innate defense debuffs, as well as having Cakewalk and Inertia. Very, very strong for sure. DPS as well with Blaze Kick is not bad. Her attack stat is very high as well. Very, very good offensive stat. Good gauge management as well with Fuel Economy, reducing the gauge she needs to be able to use her damaging moves. Propulsion and Defense Destroyer for extra utility of debuffing and Sync Countdown. Overall, a very, very strong fire character. Not much else needs to be said. Very self-sufficient and very strong. Signet Suit Steven. This guy does like everything. He can do damage with the attack form. He can do a pretty, I guess, decent support with the defense form, though mostly I would relegate that to the speed form, which has good bulk stats with full investment, and can also do dodge tanking, right? Dodge tanking is nice, sync acceleration is nice, and the defensive stats by themselves are pretty nice. And the normal form is mostly relegated to flinch spamming, but he can do, I guess, a few other things like setting psychic terrain on entry, which is not really worth considering, but he can do it, and also having fuel economy, so he is not very gauge, he's very gauge efficient, so you don't have to worry about that. And then, of course, the grid mostly just enhances his diversity. There we go. A little bit more. Furious Brain for powering up his DPS form, Sync Nodes as well for similar thing, as well as having Mind Games for extra damage enhancement, Soften Up 1 for guaranteed crits, and a few other things, right? So Steven is very good to pick. His offensive form is very strong, 240 base power, damage dealing move here with the special attack being 552, very, very high. He's got innate sync nuke of Rising Tide. His nuke is not fantastic, but is quite good, especially with his offensive stat, and also having, again, that very consistently strong DPS option is also very, very good. Also guaranteed expanded sync for an AoE sync move upon using his damaging options. So Steven's got good utility as well as good damage. Pretty worthwhile character to pick up if you do need a good psychic enhancer. Cygnus Uwali, very good Fairy enhancer with Fairy Zone and Fairy Rebuff. He's also got a ton of good sync countdown with Head Start 1, Head Start 2, as well as the Sprint EX roll, on top of having like Head Start 1 in the grid, or whatever else he's got for sync countdown, right? So he does have a lot of that, but he also does have a very good nuke. His offensive stat is also very, very strong. 693 special attack is amazing. Fantastic. And he's also got Devastation and Interference Sync on top of the innate multiplier of Fairy Zone, so he will be having a very, very good sync move on top of, again, that Fairy rebuff, and also Fairy Partners, very, very strong. So Cygnus Uwali, very good Fairy enhancer and Fairy nuker. Cygnus Hilbert, he is a character that relies upon hitting all enemies, sorry, not all enemies, but he hits on 5 different types, so he can be super effective against 5 different types. He hits fire, water, electric, ice, or bug types because of how, Genesec's drives work and whatnot. He's able to do pretty much 5 different types super effectively, but even outside of doing super effective damage, Hilbert is still quite strong. 420 special, full investment, right? 480 special attack is really, really strong, no doubt about that. He does have a good nuke as well with brain power and innate Smarty Pants. That's alone is already pretty solid, but if you're able to activate Cakewalk as well, that's an extra multiplier for him, and again, he will be strong on that aspect. But even again, still considering if he's only doing DPS stuff, he's still got 5 types he is super effective against, and with that he does have the ability to lower enemy rebuff type of that type whenever he is attacking, and he still does have the damage boost from Technoblast. He's got another a way to lower enemy rebuff with this passive at 5 out of 5, and a few other things like special defense debuffs and whatever else you may want to run that makes him look very, very strong. So Hilbert hits super effective against 5 different types, and he's still like really good outside of that too. We do have N and Kiran Black. N and Kiran Black are a charge-up character where Free Shock is a 2-turn move, which is a pretty big caveat, right? I don't think N is super fantastic to be picking, especially with Silver in the same scout, but he's still not, bad outright. He's got Piercing Blows to ignore enemy gimmick skills. He's got 2 Prepare to reduce sync countdown when using an attack that has charge-up, and also Hostile Environment for more paralysis or potential freezes as well. Not too shabby. He does have Resonating Noble Roar here, which never misses. Sorry. Lowers the enemy attack, special attack and speed of all enemies by 2, and applies super effective next, removes next, and physical moves next by 1 to N. Also very, very solid. Though, of course, do consider you have to use this pretty much once every sync cycle, so his value does kind of decrease a bit. And does have self-sufficiency here too. The biggest issue with N is that this is all he really has for DPS, and it can be inconsistent, and this buddy move is dog water. It's pretty bad, frankly. I mean, it's not really a great buddy move. It does have uses, in some places, but for like overall unit consistency, it's not that great. Honestly, it's not that great. He does have a pretty solid nuke with innate pecking order on top of demoralizing and dirty sync here, so he does have some pretty good multipliers. Head Start 1 for some sync countdown, peak readiness for more physical moves next, very, very solid, and a few other utility nodes like pinpoint entry or piercing gaze, team bash track, that type of thing. Sigma Suit Diantha, the premier Rock Zone setter, and got a lot better with her recent upgrade with the Field EX role, making her very competent at the job of setting Rock Zone. She's got a pretty good nuke within a Rock Zone, Scholars, Sync, Special Defense 5, and Cakewalk. Very easy to activate multipliers for what she can do, so that's not too bad. She does have her Diamond Storm Buddy move, which is activated during Rock Zone, that is able to lower enemy defense and raise ally physical defense, and it's a 2-gauge move that hits all enemies. Very strong. And again, her biggest thing that she got is Rock Zone, which she can go for NPR on. She's got Extension on as well at 5 out of 5, and she did get the Field EX roll that gives her even more extended Rock Zone. So combined with the brand new Alt Celine, or run with support of like Alt Elio, you're going to be having a very, very good rock core if you do run Diantha on that team. And she will, of course, be a great enhancement to characters like Champion Silver, Paolo, or whoever else you may want to run. That is, again, very nice. So we do love to see that. We do love to see that. She also does have good self-sufficiency with Honing Hit 9 and Sync Countdown and whatnot off of her trainer move. We do have Sigma Suit Hao here too. Sigma Suit Hao is not too shabby. He's a Fairy Zone and Electric Terrain setter. That is definitely not bad at all. We do love to see that. Electric Terrain, being able to set it and extend it on entry, as well as be able to set it on Sync move with Power Plant. This does apply to other characters who set Electric Terrain like Thunderbolt Red or Volkner or whoever else. So that is good too, being able to extend it on top of extension. Team Power Induction, buffing ally sync pairs moves when in electric terrain. He's basically got that supportive role, and he also gives allies special moves next when they activate a weather terrain zone effect. So tons of special moves next buffing alongside having the weather terrain zone activated, which we do like to see that too. Wild Electro Web, which is an AoE move that is doubled in power in Fairy Zone for a 220 base power move. That is not bad. Lowers enemy speed and raises ally speed, so he does have good gauge efficiency. His trainer move here, which buffs his special attack by 4 and crit by 2, and reduces sync countdown by 1 in Fairy Zone. Of course, this does make him require just a little bit more buffing in terms of offenses, but that's not really that big of a deal. He does have a pretty good sync nuke as well, with the innate of Electric Terrain, Whimsical Sync, and Cakewalk too. So good multipliers again all around to activate, and again decent utility with like Team Altered Field Dodge 9, or again the Electric Terrain, which is his biggest aspect here. Being able to set that and apply special buffs to all allies, and also apply power buffs too. So not a bad character. Definitely does not really fit too much on the top electric setup with like Thunderbolt Red, Champion Blue, Ash, whoever else, right? But for the most part, he's still a good character in his own right. Sigma Suit Silver and Sneasel, again, a character that I'd say is probably more consistent than N. They've got Triple Axle here, which is basically a 3-hit move that doubles in power every time it lands, pretty much, for like a total of like 120 power-ish or something. Crushing Triple Axle is about double that, about 200 something, which is able to buff ally crit, sorry, not ally crit, just Silver's crit, and also reduce sync countdown depending on how many times it lands. Be careful of that accuracy. He can buff his attack and his speed as well. He's got innate inertia alongside his, innate Cakewalk, as well as having inertia as a passive, so he's got up to 200% in sync multipliers just at 1 out of 5. Really, really good. And with dupes, he does have Cakewalk and Heavy Hail as well for 350% nodal multipliers, making him a very, very strong ice nuking sync pair, as well as having pretty decent DPS, as long as you can, attribute for the accuracy because of how Triple Axle works. And other than that, he does have good utility with Unfortunate Strike, Evasive Strike. I think he does have healing. Yeah, Restoring Strike on Triple Axle as well, Punishing Strike too. So he does have a lot of good nodes for debuffing and healing and evasion buffing for those who like the Legendary Gauntlet. So Silver is good with full investment, whether you want damage or you want utility. We do like to see that too. Oleana here, she's got great debuffing alongside damage and being able to set poison rebuff with her max move. She's able to lower all enemy poison rebuff after using her max move. She's able to leave the enemy badly poisoned alongside using her max move here. She's able to buff her attack by 4, accuracy by 2 with her, and crit by 3 with her trainer move, and reduce sync countdown. Very, very solid trainer move all around. Apply move gauge boost for gauge efficiency, and again, debuffing stats. Venom Drench basically debuffs enemy stats by ×3 instead of by 1, so you're getting -3 attack, special attack, and speed due to her passive, so you get that -6 in 2 turns. Very fast debuffing, pretty much, there's not any character that can really compete with that, frankly, in terms of how much debuffing they do. Yet. There might, now that I think about it, one of these stupid arc suit sync pairs might be able to do that. I don't know. Again, this is recorded before that, so whatever. She's got one of the best poison nukes in the game as well, with Power Play, Virulent Toxin 2, and again also innate Power Play as well. So she's got, what is that, 240, 290, 310%. Is it 310%? Yeah, 310% in total sync nuke multipliers. Very stupidly strong, man. Combined with a partner like Gita or whatever, and Oleana's cooking, frankly. And again, she does have good damage with her 200 base power gunk shot, alongside having Toxic Power 3 and ramming speed as well for multipliers. And stuff like Pep Rally 2 on move gauge boost and training with hit and heal for a little bit more utility and self-sufficiency in stat buffing / gauge efficiency / healing. So that's good too. Alt Leon, Battle Tower Leon as I like to call him. Also a pretty good debuffing character, lowering enemy attack, defense, and speed. Pretty good damaging option as well than Dragon Darts, being able to hit the enemies, I think, 240 power, basically. That's very good, too. Will-O-Wisp for burn, be able to, and then his trainer move, which is able to buff his attack by 4, speed by 1, and crit by 3. He's got also Piercing Blows, ignoring those damage reduction passives and all of that stuff. Unfortunate Strike for random debuffs, too. Very, very solid for, again, anything that pretty much wants stat debuffs, and Impervious, preventing stat debuffs there is good too. Dynamax with Max Wormwind, being able to debuff enemy attack. Innate, not too shabby of a kid, mostly relies upon debuffs, and he's got a very good damage option in Dragon Darts, especially with his good innate offensive stat. 486 attack is good. He's also got himself, the more the target stats are lower, the greater the power of his Sync Nuke, yeah, innate power play. With full investment, he does have Bronze Sync 5 and Scorching Sync 5. So he does have pretty good sync nuke multipliers. Overall, 220% is not too shabby. He does also have good damaging options with Burn Synergy 1 and Burn Synergy 3. Most of these are actually at 2 out of 5, so if you do just want good damage, these are good notes to pick up. Also, Confusion Synergy and Flabbergast on Will-O-Wisp does just help that out even further. But again, other than that, he does have Punishing Strike, be able to debuff enemy defense a lot more consistently with Dragon Darts. Buddy Breaking Swipe, BOGO 9, giving you better gauge efficiency with him as well, and a few other things, such as being able to debuff enemy stats at random when hitting a burned opponent, alongside having the Unfortunate Strike. So he's got a lot of debuffing. He's got, of course, the burn, and of course, the good sync nuke on top of it, and damage, of course, too. Good damage. Gloria and Cinderace, one of those characters that does a lot of different things. I'm pretty sure her big thing is that she's got Piercing Blows when she's flying. Yeah, Piercing Blows when she's flying. We do love to see that. She's a very solid damage dealing character, but also has a ton of utility. She basically has Fireball, Bounce, and High Jump Kick, all of which are her main damaging options. And depending on which sync move she uses, max move she uses, she will be able to change into one of those types: G-Max Fireball, Max Airstream, and Max Knuckle. G-Max Fireball ignores damage reduction passives, and whenever she goes into the fire mode, quote, fire mode, right, she'll be getting fuel economy for extra gauge efficiency, alongside her passive Passios Ace, which changes the same, or stays the same for all of her forms, which will lower enemy type rebuff by 2 ranks of the max move used. So if you use Max Airstream, you'll lower enemy flying rebuff, and it also replace some passives and skills with different moves after using Max Airstream or Max Knuckle or whatever else, right? So yeah, in base, she's got Brain Sync 5 for innate sync multiplier, basically, as well as having the innate enemy type rebuff being lowered for extra rebuff stuff on, extra damage stuff on her base kit. She's able to buff her, She's able to buff her attack and crit by 3, attack by 4, crit by 3, evasion by 1. There we go. I'm talking too fast. Good night. And that's just that, you know, the fire side of things, right? With full investment, she does have Haymaker as well for her sync nuke, so 250% total nuke multipliers. That's definitely not bad either, especially off of her good offensive stat. When flying, she does replace Piercing Gaze with Piercing Blows, and she gets Sync Countdown when using her quick effect. What the hell am I saying? I'm losing it. What the hell? Quick move, whatever it is, whatever you call these things here, the moves that you have MP instead of move gauge, right? These, whenever you use it, you'll be getting -2 sync countdown, because that does, of course, have mitigate the fact that it is a 2-turn move. That's nice. And again, Piercing Blows to ignore enemy damage reduction passives. Very, very solid there too. So we do like to see that. Very, very solid. And then fighting here, mostly just restoring HP and be able to not miss, right? Because if High Jump Kick misses, Bye. That's so sad. That is so sad. Whatever though. She does restore HP, so that is nice. But it's either you're gonna be running fire for the damage with the rebuff and whatnot, or you're gonna be running flying for the piercing blows. Pretty much what you're gonna be doing. Fighting, probably rarely used. But we do like having that Brain Sync 5 for the extra damage, right? On top of having Haymaker, opponent fail physical moves up next too, being able to buff her physical moves next whenever the enemy's move attacking her misses. So that is good for bounce. Slippery Slope for evasion buffs, again, consider that with bounce and that same passive there. And then a few other things like Defense Crush for defense debuffs, Dashing Team for team speed debuff, or sorry, team speed buffs, and all of that. So Gloria excels in doing a lot of different things because she's basically got 3 different modes: fire damage, flying, and fighting damage. So that's nice. Sigma Suit Roxy, as I mentioned, if you watched the last video for the Striker banner, Sigma Suit Pierce and her go very, very well together. She's the more poisonous side of things, where she's able to set electric terrain, but she is very reliant upon like Poison Zone. They do want you to pull the other one. But of course you can replace that with like, you know, Ball Iris, who sets Poison Zone, or Gita, or on, of course, the Pierce side of things, Thunderbolt Red, Vulcan, or whoever, right? Those characters that can kind of help mitigate the fact that they want the other toxicity. Roxy is a very good damage dealer. She's got Frenzied Sludge Wave, which is a 230 base power move. It lowers enemy special defense and is powered up by 50% when in electric terrain. That's very strong, obviously. Overdrive if you want to do some electric damage, and she's got good self-sufficiency with her trainer move too. She's able to set Poison Zone when her max move is used, and it extends Poison Zone when turned on the field of play, so you don't have to worry too much about setting it all that much. She's also able to debuff enemy attack and special attack depending on if the enemy is poisoned or paralyzed, because her max move does leave all enemies poisoned or paralyzed. So it's random. It's a 50-50 chance. And Turbocharge 3 for gauge acceleration and electric terrain, sure. Other than that, she's got her Sync Nuke multiplier as well with Sync Induction plus the NA of Smarty Pants. 190% multipliers is not too bad. First Sync move Poison Zone, giving her another usage of Poison Zone, not having to rely on an ally to set that. Or of course, you know, an ally can set it, she can extend it, whatever. Still, it's good to have. Poison Zone Extension 2, Power Induction 1 for powering up her moves when in electric terrain. I think she's got, yeah, innate brain, sorry, she's also got Brain Teaser as well, on top of the extra power buff, again, that her innate move has. 50% extra power buff to a 230 base power move. That's over 300 power on top of having Brain Teaser. Her damage is insane. Like, for being a tech, her actual DPS option is really, really crazy. So that is awesome. And also hit poisoned opponents. Special moves next 1, being able to buff at a 40% chance, raise her special moves next by 1 when attacking a poisoned opponent. That is also pretty strong too. Venomous Sinkhole for guaranteed poison on the enemies, and just a ton of other abilities. I've gone over Roxy like probably twice already in overview, so again, if you want to see more of a in-depth look at this character, I would recommend watching that, where I'm not trying to cover 28 sync pairs simultaneously. Dahlia, also a very, very strong sync pair. She's got the ability to lower enemy grass or water rebuff when using her max move, which will also set rain or grassy terrain. She is set to be able to try and buff these water and grass characters, which is cool, obviously, right? She does have her innate sync multiplier whenever there is a weather terrain zone in effect. She's also got Interference Sync 9 for a 90% multiplier. On top of that, for 190% total. On top of also having the rebuff and, of course, the rain and grassy terrain, however you want to set that up. She's able to debuff enemy defense when attacking with a physical move and special defense when attacking with a special move. So, of course, Muddy Water, Razor Leaf, you'll be able to prioritize whichever one you want to debuff, making her a very good debuffer and, again, enhancer towards both types. Other than that, she also does have like Discombobulate 9, Grassy Terrain Extension, and Flood Alert 5 for Rain Extension, Razor Leaf Confusion Synergy. Jesus, man. I'm pretty sure I remember her Razor Leaf actually having quite a few good multipliers, so if you do want to run Razor Leaf DPS, you ironically might be able to, and it wouldn't be like horrible, but that's funny. She's also got Easy Pickings, being able to debuff an enemy stat at random when attacking a confused opponent, combined with Discombobulate, and she's got a lot of debuffing. The defenses, accuracy, and then the random debuffs on top of that, alongside having the Grassy Terrain Extension and the Rain Extension and the Grass and Water rebuff. So that is all really, really good stuff and very valuable to either any water or grass team. Jacques. Jacques' a funny man. I forget why this guy's good, frankly, but I'll try my best. Anyway, whatever. Jacques got a very good nuke. He's got Rising Tide in A, and he's also got Rising Tide in the grid. He's able to randomly raise his stat by using Twin Beam here, which is a 2-hit move, which randomly raises his stats by 2. I think he gets 4 stat buffs total. He's also got himself Berries, which restores MP to his moves that have the berry effect, have whatever. But he does also have his Jacques Lesson passive, which reduces MP for 1 by the user's moves that have the berry effect tag, and raises special attack and special defense by 2 when the move is successful. So you use Twin Beam or whatever, you get your special attack and special defense buffs, you use Berry, you use a berry, and then you also get random stats from Strike stat up to 9, being able to raise, again, random stats by 2 stat ranks, which activates his Rising Tide even further. And then he's also got Experimental Stored Power, which, oh boy, it's a nuclear weapon. It never misses, it becomes a guaranteed crit, and the more stats are raised, the greater the power of the move. So, yeah, this is basically a nuclear weapon of a buddy move. You can set it off and it will remove all of his stat increases. So then you'll have to go back and buff his stats again to eventually nuke again with Experimental Stored Power. It's very gimmicky for sure, but it does kind of pay off because not only does he have a very good sync nuke with Rising Tide, but of course once you're done, you know, the battle might end soon, you'll use the stored power and just do like 1 billion damage, and it works out pretty well. It's very funny. It does also have Unfortunate Strike 9, giving random debuffs, alongside, again, Twin Beam being a 2-use attack move. Not even 2-use, 2-hit move. So for a random 2 stats being debuffed, do like to see that. Stacking Strike 9, again, just more. He's also able to buff crit with this, so that is also very, very good. Strike special defense down for guaranteed special defense debuffs. So he moves 7 stats up 1, raising all of his stats by 1 stat rank after using the sync move. So he's got a lot of methods to debuff stats, a lot of methods to buff stats, and on top of that, that will again be empowering his nuke with Rising Tide and empowering his stored power even more, so that he's getting a lot of nuclear burst damage. Not bad whatsoever. Pretty sure he's one of those characters that can solo every single legendary arena, so that's cool. Interesting. It also does a flinch 1 on Twin Beam, so you will be getting, you know, 20% flinch chances. That will also be hitting twice, so a little bit higher than that. And then finally we do have Clara, who is also a good poison tech. Poison tech that works very, very well with Geeta. A lot of poison type characters are really, really strong, but Clara is a very good one because she's able to hit on both the physical and special side of the spectrum. She's able to hit the physical side when her physical moves next is higher than her special moves next, and she hits on the special side whenever her special moves next is higher than the physical side. That's basically the synopsis of this. She's also able to debuff enemy attack and defense whenever her move is physical, and special attack and special defense by 2 whenever her move is special, and she also applies free moves next and restores HP depending on that as well. And that only applies to Poisonous Shell Sidearm. This will be either a special move or a physical move depending on which one of her move up next is higher. And then she has Sludge Bomb and Poison Jab, which effectively work to raise her move up next because of her passive here, which increases physical moves next when she attacks with Poison Jab, and increases her special moves next when attacking with Sludge Bomb. So you use Sludge Bomb, that gives you +1 special moves next, it unlocks the buddy move, and that buddy move will be special. And again, same thing with Poison Jab, you use it, physical moves up next, then the buddy move is physical, and it will alternate depending on which one is higher. And then she has the max moves here, which raise ally special attack, but it will also give her +3 physical moves or special moves next, depending on which category of the move is used. So that will be, again, another nuclear power, because not only are you, of course, unlocking the strong buddy move and getting the debuffs and all of that, it is also up to, you know, +1, +2, however many physical moves or special moves up next, boosted. So this does help her out with being run alongside like Sigma Suit Roxy or Geeta, where you may want to give her physical, you want to make her a more physical-oriented unit working with Geeta, or a more special-oriented unit when working with Roxy. Though do consider her Sync Nuke is special, and it will always be special, so if you are going to try and empower it, do consider it is only a special move. It does have Haymaker, it does have innate brain power, so it will be a good Sync Nuke too, but again, it is, you know, only special, it will never be physical. And she does have Sync Move Physical and Special Boost too, so if you want to be able to boost whichever one you want, you can do that too. And a few other things like Poisoned Opponent Max Move Power Up, and whatever else for just extra damage. She's a tech character that's basically a striker with how hard she's able to hit. She works very well with Sigma Suit Roxy, very well with Geeta, Oleana, Ariana, pretty much everyone on the Poison team, just because of how she can hit on both the physical and special side of things, which does make her good. And again, also high power due to her innate high offensive stats and high base power of her buddy move. she is strong, no doubt. So that is the full synopsis. Good lord of the tech banner. How many supports are there in this game, man? Oh, okay, 22. That's okay. That's better than this. Either way, whatever. In terms of the options that you should probably be considering, there are a ton, right? It really depends on what you're trying to buff. Like, if you're trying to buff flying types, you need Flying Zone, Skyla is going to be good. If you need Fairy Zone, and you want to buff your Fairy types, Wally's going to be good. If you want a good, Fire Nuker, there's obviously Mei and Blaziken, or there's the Gloria with her rebuff and solid nuke and also a ton of utility. There's a lot of value in both of those characters, right? Cygnus Steven with his all-around versatility and either being able to do damage, sync countdown, defense buffs, or flinch, whatever. Basically everything under the sun. Steven can do that too. If you want the great damage of Clara or the great damage plus utility of Roxy or Oleana, whoever. So many of these characters are valuable. I would just mostly stay away from the older ones like Iris, Marnie, and Leaf. Lear I wouldn't say is too valuable either. Lucas, being how often he reruns, I would say is not too valuable to pick up too, and maybe Beat as well because he's rerun quite often and is also not that fantastic. I think Significant Korean also falls under that spectrum, and Significant N as well. But mostly, like, I would say Clara, Jacques, Dahlia, Roxy, Gloria, Leon, Oleana, Silver, Hao even, Hilda, Hilbert, Wally, Steven, Mei, Dojo Gloria, Anniversary Raihan, Skyla, even Mei a little bit, and Cyrus, and Classic Elisa. I think they all hold value in one way or another. You may want to not get Hao or Elisa just because Electric is already such a competitive type, especially with all the Master Fairs, like Champion Blue, Red, and Ash, and all of that. I can definitely see that too. So just be sure whichever one you do pick, it is a character that, fills a niche that you have, like Diantha with her Rock Zone and being very, very good at that, or Clara with her amazing poison damage. Just be sure you don't regret your decision, and there's a lot of good ones to make, so good luck on your selection. Enjoy the anniversary festivities. Again, for me, the deadline's tonight. At least it should be tonight. So here's the hoping. Oh boy, I love making videos in the past for when these actually release. Whatever. I'll see you all later. Hope you all enjoyed. Good luck on your summons. Peace.